They called her assignment a joke, a waste of talent. While elite cyber units operated from high-tech command centers, she sat alone in a basement office with outdated equipment, officially tasked with routine network maintenance. The other specialists mocked her position, claiming anyone could monitor basic server traffic. But when the nation's most secure financial networks began crashing simultaneously, and every advanced cybersecurity system failed to identify the source, they stopped laughing. The attack was coming from inside their own infrastructure, using their own tools against them. By the time they realized she had been tracking the ghost in their machine for months, it was already too late to stop what was coming. From which corner of the digital world are you accessing this story today? If you appreciate tales of unsung heroes who protect us from threats we never see coming, subscribe to join our community of viewers who value the guardians operating in the shadows of cyberspace. The fluorescent lights in Cyber Defense Command buzzed overhead as Director Marcus Chen reviewed the morning briefing. Multiple screens displayed network traffic patterns, threat assessments, and the constant stream of attempted intrusions that targeted the nation's digital infrastructure every second of every day. His team of elite cyber specialists worked at state-of-the-art workstations, each monitoring different sectors of the digital battlefield. Status report, Chen called out to his team leads. Financial sector shows normal patterns, reported Senior Analyst Rodriguez from the banking security desk. 3 attempted breaches overnight, all neutralized by our automated defense systems. Power grid network stable, added Technical Specialist Thompson. Some suspicious probes from known threat actors, but nothing that penetrated our outer defenses. Communications infrastructure running clean, confirmed Lead Engineer Patel. The new AI monitoring system is performing above expectations. Chen nodded with satisfaction. The Integrated Digital Defense Network, or IDDN, represented the pinnacle of cybersecurity technology. Machine learning algorithms analyzed millions of data points per second, identifying and neutralizing threats faster than any human operator could react. It was a system so advanced that many questioned whether human oversight was even necessary anymore. What about the basement assignment? Rodriguez asked, with barely concealed amusement. Is Winter still down there playing with her antique computers? Several team members chuckled at the reference to Dr. Sarah Winter, whose assignment to Network Maintenance Division had become something of an office joke. While the elite team worked with cutting-edge technology, she was relegated to monitoring basic server functions with equipment that belonged in a museum. Dr. Winter is handling routine maintenance protocols, Chen replied curtly, though privately, he wondered why someone with her credentials had been assigned such menial work. Her personnel file showed advanced degrees in computer science and mathematics, plus experience with classified defense projects. Yet for the past 8 months, she had been essentially monitoring digital janitor work. In the basement 3 floors below, Dr. Sarah Winter sat at her modest workstation, surrounded by older generation monitors and processing units that hummed and clicked with mechanical precision. While her colleagues upstairs tracked obvious threats with automated systems, she was methodically analyzing something far more subtle, patterns that existed in the spaces between normal network traffic. Her screens displayed what appeared to be routine data flows, server maintenance logs, routine file transfers, standard system updates. To anyone else, it would look incredibly boring. But Winter had noticed something the advanced AI systems upstairs were programmed to ignore: tiny anomalies in timing, microscopic variations in data packet sizes, and routing decisions that made no logical sense. She pulled up a data visualization showing network traffic over the past 6 months. To most analysts, it would appear as normal fluctuation. But Winter had developed her own analysis methods, looking for patterns that sophisticated detection systems were designed to overlook. "There you are," she murmured, highlighting a barely perceptible trend in the data. Someone was using the nation's own infrastructure to build something, not attacking it directly, but slowly, methodically, using legitimate network functions to create an unauthorized parallel system. It was like watching someone steal a building by taking 1 brick at a time over many years. Her phone buzzed with a text from Rodriguez upstairs. "Still playing with those old computers? We have real threats to monitor up here." Winter ignored the message and continued her analysis. She had tried to report her findings 3 months ago, but the automated threat assessment system had classified her concerns as low-priority maintenance issues, since no actual breaches or attacks were detected. Her human supervisors trusted the AI's judgment and dismissed her observations. What they didn't understand was that this threat wasn't trying to break into the system. It was already inside, had always been inside, and was using the system's own functions to gradually take control of critical infrastructure. Upstairs, The morning briefing continued with Director Chen reviewing threat intelligence from various agencies. "We have reports of increased activity from known state-sponsored groups," he informed his team. "Our IDDN systems are calibrated to detect their known attack signatures. Maintain elevated alert status." "Sir," interrupted Analyst Martinez from the communications desk, "I'm seeing some unusual routing behavior in the Eastern financial networks. Nothing that triggers our alarms, but the patterns seem odd." Chen frowned and approached Martinez's workstation. The displays showed normal-looking network traffic with no obvious red flags. "Define odd," Chen requested. "It's hard to explain. The data flows are legitimate, but they're taking routes that seem unnecessarily complex, like someone is intentionally making simple transfers more complicated." Thompson from the power grid station looked up. "Actually, I've noticed similar patterns in electrical distribution networks. Routine maintenance commands, but they're being routed through unusual pathways." "The AI hasn't flagged any of this as suspicious," Rodriguez pointed out. "If IDDN doesn't see a threat, there probably isn't one." Chen studied the displays, his experience telling him something wasn't quite right, but the sophisticated systems his team relied on showed no cause for concern. The AI had been trained on thousands of known attack patterns and could identify threats with 99.7% accuracy. "Continue monitoring," he decided. "If the patterns persist or escalate, run a deeper analysis." In the basement, Winter's investigation had revealed something that made her blood run cold. The anomalous patterns weren't random. They were coordinated across multiple infrastructure sectors, all following the same subtle timing sequences. Someone was systematically gaining control of critical systems by using legitimate network functions in ways that fell below the detection threshold of modern cybersecurity. She opened a secure communication channel and began typing a detailed report documenting 6 months of evidence showing how an unknown actor was essentially hijacking the nation's digital infrastructure without triggering any security alerts. But before she could send the message, her screen flickered and displayed an error message. "Unauthorized communication detected. Report blocked by security protocols." Winter stared at the screen in disbelief. Someone had just prevented her from reporting a massive security breach. But according to the system logs, no unauthorized access had occurred. Which meant whoever was doing this had administrative privileges within the security system itself. Her hands moved quickly across the keyboard, trying alternative communication methods. Each attempt was blocked by what appeared to be legitimate security features, but Winter recognized the sophisticated signature behind the interference. She wasn't just tracking a cyber attack. She was investigating someone with deep access to the very systems designed to protect the nation's digital infrastructure. Someone who could manipulate security protocols to hide their activities and silence anyone who discovered them. Grabbing her personal phone, she sent a simple text message to her former colleague at the National Security Agency. "Need to meet. Urgent. Use the old protocols." 3 hours later, Winter met Dr. James Cooper at a small cafe far from any government buildings. Cooper had been her mentor during her early career in cybersecurity, before she was reassigned to her current maintenance position. "Sarah, you look terrible," Cooper observed as she sat down. "What's going on?" "Someone is taking control of critical infrastructure from the inside," she said without preamble. "Not hacking it, not attacking it, but gradually assuming administrative control through legitimate system functions." Cooper's expression grew serious. "Evidence?" Winter slid him an encrypted drive. 6 months of traffic analysis showing coordinated anomalies across financial, power, and communications networks. Patterns that suggest a single actor with unprecedented access to multiple systems. Why hasn't this been reported through normal channels? Because whoever is doing this can block internal communications and manipulate security protocols. When I tried to send my report, the system classified it as unauthorized and prevented transmission. Cooper studied the drive, his cybersecurity background allowing him to immediately grasp the implications. This would require access at the highest levels of multiple agencies, or access to the underlying infrastructure that connects all those agencies, Winter corrected. "Remember, most of our secure networks share common routing systems and maintenance protocols." "The IDDN integration project," Cooper said quietly, understanding dawning in his eyes. 2 years earlier, the government had implemented the Integrated Digital Defense Network to create seamless communication between all major cybersecurity systems. It was designed to allow rapid sharing of threat intelligence and coordinated response to cyber attacks. But it also created a single point of access that, if compromised, could provide control over multiple critical systems. Someone got into the IDDN backbone, Winter confirmed. They're not attacking our systems, they're becoming our systems. We need to report this immediately. To who? If I'm right, anyone we report this to will either have their communications monitored or blocked. The only reason I could contact you was by using personal devices outside official channels. Cooper was quiet for a long moment, processing the implications. What do you need? Help me prove it. I need access to systems outside the IDDN network to verify my analysis and document what's happening before they can stop us. That evening, Cooper used his security clearance to access a legacy monitoring system that predated the IDDN integration. While Winter's evidence was compelling, they needed conclusive proof that would be difficult to dismiss or suppress. Working through the night at a secure facility, they ran Winter's data through independent analysis systems. The results confirmed her worst fears. Look at this, Cooper said, pointing to a timeline visualization. The anomalous patterns began exactly 18 months ago, shortly after the IDDN system went fully operational. And they're accelerating, Winter added, highlighting recent data. Whatever they're building, it's almost complete. The analysis revealed that someone had spent over a year gradually installing unauthorized code throughout critical infrastructure systems, disguising their activities as routine maintenance and system updates. The code was designed to activate simultaneously across multiple networks, potentially giving the unknown actor control over financial systems, power grids, and communications networks. This is worse than a cyber attack, Cooper realized. This is a takeover. And it's scheduled to activate in 72 hours, Winter said, pointing to embedded timers in the malicious code. They had discovered the digital equivalent of a massive time bomb, but proving it to authorities who might themselves be compromised would be nearly impossible. We need to contact someone outside the normal chain of command, Cooper decided. Someone with the authority to act independently. Early the next morning, Cooper reached out to General Patricia Hayes, a military cybersecurity expert known for her skepticism of over-reliance on automated systems. Hayes agreed to meet them at a secure military facility where they could present their evidence without using potentially compromised networks. This is an extraordinary claim, General Hayes said after reviewing their data. You're suggesting that our most advanced cybersecurity system has been compromised and is being used to facilitate a massive attack against our own infrastructure. With respect, General, Winter replied, I'm not suggesting it. I'm proving it. Hayes studied the evidence carefully, her decades of experience in cybersecurity, allowing her to understand the technical implications. If this is accurate, we have less than 60 hours to prevent a coordinated attack on multiple critical systems. The challenge is that any response, using normal channels, could be detected and countered, Cooper explained. Whoever is behind this has administrative access to our communication and coordination systems. General Hayes made a decision that would prove crucial. We're going to handle this outside normal protocols. I'm authorizing a black operation to investigate and counter this threat without using any IDDN-connected systems. Within hours, Hayes had assembled a small team of cybersecurity specialists who had been selected for their independence from the potentially compromised systems. They were given access to isolated computing resources and tasked with developing a response plan. Winter found herself leading a team for the first time in her career, directing specialists who finally understood the significance of what she had discovered. No longer dismissed as a basement maintenance worker, she was recognized as the only person who had identified the threat before it was too late to stop. Our advantage is that they don't know we've discovered them, Winter explained to the team. They've spent months building this system, assuming our security would never look for threats that use legitimate system functions. The team worked frantically to understand the full scope of the infiltration and develop countermeasures. What they found was even more sophisticated than Winter had initially realized. It's not just control systems, reported technical analyst Chen, no relation to the director. They've also installed monitoring capabilities that give them access to sensitive communications across multiple agencies. Industrial espionage on an unprecedented scale, added security specialist Lopez. They know our defense capabilities, our response plans, even our personnel assignments. Winter stared at the evidence, a terrible realization forming in her mind. They know about this investigation. Even as she spoke, alerts began appearing on their isolated systems. Someone was attempting to access their secure network, using administrative credentials that should not have existed. They're trying to get in, Lopez reported. Multiple simultaneous access attempts using high-level authorization codes. Disconnect us from all external networks, Winter ordered. If they can't reach us digitally, they might try other approaches. She was right. Within 30 minutes, military police arrived at their facility with orders to shut down their investigation and detain the team for unauthorized access to classified systems. General Hayes, however, had anticipated this possibility. "Those officers are not under my command," she informed Winter over a secure radio. "You have my authorization to continue your work." The facility went into lockdown as Hayes used her authority to override the detention orders and provide protection for the investigation team. But everyone understood that time was running out. 18 hours until activation, Winter announced to her team. "We need to finish this now." Working under extreme pressure, they developed a plan to neutralize the threat by exploiting the same system vulnerabilities that had allowed the infiltration. Instead of trying to remove the malicious code, which could trigger early activation, they would insert their own code to disable it at the moment of attempted activation. "It's elegant," observed Chen. "We're using their own methods against them. The irony is that we're doing exactly what they did," Winter noted, "using legitimate system functions to install unauthorized code. The difference is, we're trying to protect the infrastructure instead of controlling it." With 6 hours remaining, they began implementing their countermeasures across critical systems. Working in shifts to avoid detection, team members accessed various networks and installed Winter's defensive code using the same subtle methods that had allowed the original infiltration. As the countdown reached its final hours, Winter found herself back in her basement office, monitoring the systems where she had first discovered the threat. The irony wasn't lost on her that the most crucial cybersecurity operation in the nation's history was being coordinated from a room full of outdated computers that everyone had dismissed as obsolete. "Activation in 30 minutes, she reported to General Hayes. "All countermeasures are in place." "And if they don't work?" Winter looked at her screens, showing the digital representation of the nation's critical infrastructure. "Then we find out what it's like when someone else controls our power grid, financial system, and communications networks, all at the same time." At exactly midnight, the malicious code activated across hundreds of systems simultaneously. For a few terrifying seconds, Winter watched as critical infrastructure systems began responding to unauthorized commands. Then her countermeasures kicked in. One by one, the malicious programs found themselves disabled, their commands redirected harmlessly, their control structures dismantled by the very systems they had tried to subvert. "It's working," Chen reported from the power grid monitoring station. "Unauthorized access attempts being blocked. Financial networks responding normally," added Lopez from the banking security desk. "Communications infrastructure stable," confirmed their telecommunications specialist. Within 10 minutes, the attempted takeover had been completely neutralized. The months of careful preparation by the unknown attackers had been undone by Winter's team, using the same subtle techniques that had been used against them. "Status report," General Hayes requested as she arrived at Winter's basement office. "Threat neutralized," Winter replied. "All critical systems returning to normal operations. The malicious code has been quarantined for analysis." "And the source?" Winter pulled up her final analysis. "Preliminary evidence suggests a sophisticated state-sponsored operation with access to insider information about our cybersecurity systems. Full investigation will take months, but the immediate threat has been eliminated." General Hayes looked around the basement office that had become the command center for one of the most successful cybersecurity operations in history. "Dr. Winter, I think it's time we discussed your next assignment." "With respect, General, I'd like to stay right here." "Here? But you've proven you're capable of much more than maintenance work." Winter smiled and gestured to her screens, showing the quiet, routine data flows that most people found boring. "Someone needs to watch for the threats that hide in plain sight. The next attack won't look like what we just stopped. It will be something new, something that seems completely normal until it's too late to stop." Hayes understood. "Very well, but you'll have a proper budget, a real team, and direct access to report concerns without them being filtered through automated systems." "And a better office?" "Don't push it," Hayes replied with a smile. 6 months later, Winter's basement operation had evolved into the Digital Anomaly Detection Division, tasked with identifying threats that fell below the threshold of conventional cybersecurity systems. Her team of specialists had prevented 3 more major attacks by recognizing patterns that advanced AI systems were programmed to ignore. Director Chen from the upstairs cyber defense team visited occasionally, no longer dismissive of Winter's work, but genuinely curious about her methods. "How do you see patterns that our advanced systems miss?" he asked during one visit. "Your systems look for known threats," Winter explained. I look for things that don't belong, even if they appear completely legitimate. But how do you distinguish between actual anomalies and normal variation? Winter pointed to her screens, showing months of data analysis, experience, intuition, and the willingness to investigate things that seem boring to everyone else. Chen nodded, understanding that some aspects of cybersecurity couldn't be automated or systematized. The human element remained crucial for identifying threats that existed in the gaps between technological detection methods. As he prepared to leave, Chen noticed a handwritten note taped to Winter's monitor. The most dangerous attack is the one that looks exactly like normal system operation. Your philosophy? He asked. My reminder, Winter corrected. In cybersecurity, the moment you stop questioning what seems normal is the moment someone starts taking advantage of your assumptions. Do you know someone whose work goes unnoticed but keeps everyone else safe? Someone whose greatest achievements happen in the background, protecting us from dangers we never even realize exist? Their stories remind us that sometimes the most critical battles are fought by people working quietly in the shadows, using skills that others dismiss until the moment those skills save everything.